political elites have been named in 88,350 sealed indictments filed in federal courts across the nation since October 30th of 2017. An estimated 80 to 140 congresspeople are charged with crimes, most believed to include child pornography and pedophilia, plus high treason. And 85 to 95% of those charged are Democrats. Their investigation has been ongoing since Trump took office and involved violations of the Espionage Act of 1912, high treason, election fraud, Russiagate, the Panama Papers conspiracy, Uranium One, 9/11, the Fukushima nuclear power plant disaster and tsunami mass murders, the Benghazi massacre, fast and furious gun and drug running, and other serious abuses of the law and Constitution. President Trump's first official act the morning he was sworn into office was to visit CIA headquarters, where he declared a war on child trafficking. He immediately appointed Attorney General from Utah John Huber and a team of 740 investigators to look into the matter. Although Huber's team was leaving Congress in the dark, they had filed in federal courts across the nation 88,350 sealed indictments against the global elites, 6,026 most recently, from October 30th, 2017 to March 31st, 2019, averaging 5,521 per month. Gitmo, military bases, and federal courts across the nation appear to be awfully busy these days. After 18 years of wait, tribunals on 9/11 finally began at Gitmo on January the 28th. Former President George W. Bush was named as one of the defendants in the 9/11 crimes, but he made a deal and turned state's evidence. Also believed to have made a deal is former President Barack Obama and billionaire George Soros. The FISA report is said to be the first major indictment to be unsealed, and 400 pages of the Mueller report would be made public by mid-April. The investigations are said to have exposed high treason crimes of former President Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and the Clinton Foundation. On March 1st, 2018, President Trump signed an executive order allowing military tribunals to take place, which are now underway in secret on different military bases such as South Carolina and at Gitmo. Former Attorney General Jeff Sessions, General James Mattis, and General John Kelly are in charge of the military tribunals. At least 2, if not 7, FEMA prison barges have been prepared to hold prisoners for the military tribunals. President Trump spent about $200 million to renovate Gitmo for the arrival of political elite prisoners. There are 15 high-value detainees incarcerated in a special prison called Camp 7 at Gitmo, where the government had recently spent $69 million building. Charges on over 90,000 sealed indictments expected to be filed by the end of April include abuse of the law and the Constitution, violation of the Espionage Act of 1912, high treason, election fraud, child sex trafficking, homicide, pornography, money laundering, bribery, perjury, Russiagate, a coup to overturn the 2016 election and start a war with Russia, the Panama Papers conspiracy, treasonous acts for funding terrorists, Uranium One, treason for selling uranium to Russia, 9/11, the cover-up of 9/11, the March 11, 2011 Fukushima nuclear and tsunami mass murders, the Benghazi massacre, hijacking of Malaysia Air 370, mass murder in Haiti and elsewhere, fast and furious gun and drug running, accepting millions in drug money from convicted Mexican drug lord El Chapo as he confessed during his sentencing hearing, human trafficking, child exploitation, kidnapping, harvesting victims' organs for monetary gain, blackmail for votes on political issues through recording of satanic pedophilia parties where children were raped, tortured, and murdered, misappropriation and confiscation of U.S. taxpayer monies through the use of illegal and privately owned Federal Reserve, the IRS, U.S. Corporation, City of London, and Vatican banks, plus not implementing the Freedom from Debt Jessara law, which passed the U.S. Supreme Court, signed at the gunpoint of Delta forces into law by President Bill Clinton on October 10, 2000. Meanwhile, one of those indicted and who will be tried is former Vice President Joe Biden, who, as of the date of this report, is still considering a run for the presidency in 2020. Biden is under indictment for a number of crimes, including pedophilia. Joe Biden recently shared a joke about molesting young children during an appearance in which he actually hugged children on stage. While giving a speech at the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Conference, Biden patted President Lonnie Stevenson on the shoulder as he approached Biden. Biden joked, quote, "I just want you to know I had permission to hug Lonnie." "I don't know, man," he added, laughing as the crowd cheered. At the start of his address to the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Joe Biden says, "I just want you to know I had permission to hug Lonnie." The former vice president, who is mulling a run for the White House in 2020, also joked about children, according to a reporter from Talking Points Memo. The reporter, Cameron Joseph, said, quote, "Joe Biden now is inviting kids up on stage from the crowd. All those kids want to come up on stage, you can come up, it's okay," Biden said, then gives them handshakes before putting an arm around the nearest boy. Biden then says, quote, "He gave me permission to touch him." Sam Stein, a Daily Beast reporter, questioned this tactic. He said, quote, "I'm not sure Biden joking about accusations that he invades women's personal space is the right way to go, especially after putting a video out saying he learned from it. But we'll find out." That's what he wrote on Twitter. Now, others on social media agreed. Brian Archibald said it renders anything else he says or does about this topic meaningless. He diminishes and demeans anyone who ever felt or will feel uncomfortable with his or anyone else's physical touch. It's not okay. It's simply not. The joke came only a couple of days after Biden took to Twitter with a 2-minute video in which he explained, but did not apologize for, his touchy-feely ways in the past. In that video, Biden said social norms have begun to change. They've shifted, and the boundaries of protecting personal space have been reset. And I get it. 3 more women emerged to say that his unwanted touches made them feel uncomfortable. And one woman said the video the handsy vice president posted on Twitter does not change how she feels. The 3 women, Allie Cole, Vale Conert-Yount, and Sophie Karasik, told the Washington Post very similar stories about how Biden allegedly touched them inappropriately. Conert-Yount worked as an intern at the White House in 2013 and said when she met Biden for the first time, he, quote, put his hands on the back of my head and pressed his forehead to my forehead while he talked to me. I was so shocked that it was hard to focus on what he was saying. I remember he told me I was a very pretty girl. But Conert-Yount, like several of the other women who have come forward, said she did not consider her experience to have been sexual assault or harassment. Yet she added that it was the kind of inappropriate behavior that makes many women feel uncomfortable and unequal in the workplace. Last week, Lucy Flores, a former Nevada Assemblywoman who was running for lieutenant governor in 2014, accused Biden of inappropriately touching her during a campaign rally, saying she felt uncomfortable and demeaned by his touching. Amy Lapos told the Hartford Courant that Biden touched her inappropriately and rubbed noses with her during a 2009 political fundraiser in Greenwich when he was vice president. 2 other women, D.J. Hill and Caitlin Caruso, told the New York Times that Biden had touched them too, making them uncomfortable. The 3 had emerged recently to bring the total to 7. We at Truth Unsealed were the first to break the story of Joe Biden's surgery years back to attempt to cure him of his pedophilia. Here is that report.
All right, nice to see you guys. Thank you. See you back home, I hope. See you back home, I hope.
Creepy Joe Biden's college roommate has revealed the future vice president used to tell his college friends that he had to, quote, clean the hosepipe before he hung out with children. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to keep his hands off them. Now, it's understood college-age Biden was using a crude slang term for masturbation and admitting to his peer group that he was sexually attracted to children. Paul Tatchell, who roomed with Biden at the Syracuse University College of Law, said, quote, he used to say it was his civic responsibility and that if he didn't choke the chicken or clean the hosepipe before spending time around children, he wouldn't be able to keep his hands off them. His attraction to children is also the reason he became a teetotaler, according to Tatchell, explaining that he realized he couldn't control himself in public with a few drinks in him. The news that Joe Biden's sexual interest in children was well known on his college campus comes after footage has surfaced of the former vice president touching young girls inappropriately in the White House. On one occasion, a microphone picked up Biden whispering in a young girl's ear, quote, "Do you know how horny I am to have a 13-year-old girl standing right next to me?" Leaning against the young girl so that she's pressed against his groin, Biden continues whispering to her, "Speak to my daughter Ashley about the film," before aggressively lunging in for a kiss, causing the 13-year-old girl to pull away from his grip. Biden married fellow law student Nelia Hunter from an affluent background in New York while still at college, overcoming her parents' reluctance for her to marry a young man with Joe's dubious reputation, according to Tatchell. No wonder Jeff Sessions abruptly ordered Joe Biden not to touch his granddaughter when they had the misfortune of running into the former vice president at the Senate swearing-in ceremony in 2016. There is endless footage of Joe Biden taking advantage of young girls and touching them while their distracted parents meet and greet politicians in D.C.'s corridors of power. Now, while mainstream media is busy attempting to turn Biden into a viable presidential candidate for 2020, portraying him as cool Uncle Joe, always wearing shades and cracking jokes, the reality is the former vice president is a serial sleaze who preys on young children. His reputation in D.C. precedes him, and other politicians do not let their young family members anywhere near him. Biden's former Secret Service agent has gone on the record describing the former VP's creepy behavior, admitting that, quote, "We had to cancel the VP Christmas get-together at the vice president's house because Biden would grope all of our wives' and girlfriends' asses." The annual party was for agents and Navy personnel who were tasked with protecting the Biden family. However, these agents often found themselves protecting women from creepy Joe. The agent said, quote, "He would mess with every single woman or teen. It was horrible." According to the source, a Secret Service agent once got suspended for a week in 2009 for shoving Biden after he cupped his girlfriend's breast while the couple was taking a photo with him. The situation got so heated, the source tells Big League that others had to step in to prevent the agent from hitting the then vice president. Big League Politics reports the agent claims that Biden would walk around the VP residence naked at night. Stark naked, according to this agent. Weinstein-level stuff, he added. He said that the men on duty would frequently stand in front of female agents and Navy women that were present like a damn guardian. On some occasions, they would make up reasons to get the women away from where he was. The agent said he was specifically concerned about women in the Navy. The agent said they weren't allowed to disobey him at all, but we'd take them away under pretend auspices. The official vice presidential residence is the Queen Anne-style house at 1 Observatory Circle in Washington, D.C., which is located on the northeast grounds of the U.S. Naval Observatory. The property is maintained and cared for by the Service Branch. Best-selling author Ronald Kessler wrote about Biden's problem with female agents in his book, The First Family Detail. Agents say that whether at the vice president's residence or at his home in Delaware, Biden has a habit of swimming in his pool nude. Female Secret Service agents find that offensive. One source confirmed this sentiment, adding that it was especially an issue at his Delaware house that he would go to every weekend. He added, quote, "He would only get naked when Jill, his wife, was absent." Biden has also been criticized for his contact with women and girls in photos and videos, and was even referred to as creepy Uncle Joe Biden by the Washington Post. In a report from the Washington Examiner titled Joe Biden's Woman-Touching Habit, Byron York wrote that he has a tendency to be particularly affectionate with women in business and social situations, like the 2013 Christmas party at which he embraced reporter Amy Parnes. The agents also worked under the Bush administration and added that Vice President Dick Cheney never grabbed any butts or breasts. Joe Biden knew for years the pain and embarrassment that he'd caused his family, friends, and associates with his inability to control his pedophilic tendencies. Things finally came to a head in early 1988, when a still nebulous incident occurred, which, had it been made public, would have sent Biden to prison. It was at this point his family conducted an intervention and insisted he seek help, or this incident would be exposed. Biden agreed to seek treatment, and while under psychiatric therapy, was informed that he may be suffering from a physical condition which may have brought on his desire to molest children. Biden's physicians believed that a possible cause of his abnormal behavior might be the result of a brain tumor. In February 1988, after suffering from several episodes of increasingly severe neck pain, Biden was taken by long-distance ambulance to Walter Reed Army Medical Center for examination. During the course of the battery of tests that were conducted, a benign tumor was discovered in Biden's brain. Several cases of uncontrollable pedophilia had been attributed to this physical anomaly. Studies had shown that in rare cases, some men had exhibited uncontrollable pedophilic behavior as a result of such tumors. The sudden and uncontrollable pedophilia exhibited by one man was believed to be caused by an egg-sized brain tumor, which, once removed, caused his sex obsession to disappear. The tumor was located in the right lobe of the orbifrontal cortex, which is known to be tied to judgment, impulse control, and social behavior. Once this tumor was removed, the pedophilic tendencies disappeared. A more famous case of a similar incident became public in 2002 when neurologists Russell Swerdlow and Jeffrey Burns of the University of Virginia at Charlottesville presented the results of a study to a scientific conference. The 40-year-old schoolteacher in that case had a brain tumor that was malignant, and the cancer was also located in the right lobe of the orbifrontal cortex. Biden's doctors suggested an experimental surgical procedure to remove his tumor. Biden's tumor was not malignant, but the process of removing it was tricky and life-threatening. His doctors referred to the procedure as a sort of sexual lobotomy. At one point, the situation was serious enough that a priest had administered the last rites at the hospital. While recuperating, Biden supposedly suffered a pulmonary embolism, which represented a major complication which forced the hospitalization and recovery, which would keep Biden from his duties in the U.S. Senate for 7 months. The story that was given to the press at the time was that Biden had been given life-saving surgery to correct an intracranial berry aneurysm that had begun leaking, and that the aneurysm was the cause of his severe neck pain. The truth was that the experimental brain surgery was followed by 7 months of intensive psychotherapy and testing to see if his pedophilia had been cured by the removal of the tumor. After a couple of months, it had become clear to Biden's doctors that the procedure had failed. Biden was shown pornographic images of children and still reacted strongly to them. After his return to the Senate, Biden admitted to close confidants that he had once again returned to, quote-unquote, choking Colonel Sanders, as he put it, before allowing himself to be near children. All of this would have remained in the shadows had it not been for Donald Trump. In 2015, after announcing his bid for the presidency, Trump's opposition research team was made privy to detailed information from a former staff member of Walter Reed Army Medical Center about Biden's secret surgery to cure his pedophilia. Biden had at that point still been considering a run for the presidency himself. When Trump learned of Biden's horrific behavior, he became enraged and had to be restrained. Trump had made it one of his top priorities to put an end to child sex trafficking and pedophilia. He intended to use this newfound information to destroy Biden's chances should he decide to run. When Biden decided against running, the information was kept secret until after the election, when it was handed over to incoming Attorney General Jeff Sessions. The next few months will be interesting indeed, as some of the other candidates entering the 2020 presidential race will have their pedophilic pasts exposed exclusively here on Truth Unsealed.